one playoff to the other. My initial reaction of the entire playoff, the entire expanded playoff, is I like it.
The opening round, we saw a lot of blowouts, but breaking news: going on the road against the top 10 team is difficult.
The second round was fantastic. The quarterfinal. The semifinal was fantastic, and now we have two of the biggest programs, two of the most historic programs facing off against each other. I would say that's a successful playoff for everybody. I think in order to not have the teams that are on bye come out flat like they did, I think pushing the conference championship games back 1 week would fix that. And maybe flip the conference championship and move the Army-Navy game up 1 week. Hello, and welcome to Updog Sports Talk. My name is Matt Miller. Joining me today is Justin McGovern. What's going on, man?
What is up? It is a huge week here on Updog Sports Talk. We are a house divided. If you aren't familiar with us or haven't seen us before, we are, Matt has grown up as a Notre Dame fan. I have grown up as an Ohio State fan. So we are a podcast that is split in terms of the national championship. Catch our previews and more as we dive into this excellent game shortly.
Yeah, I can't wait. But first, we gotta jump into our intro. Hold on. Technical issues. Here we go. More technical issues. All right. So, if you haven't watched us before, we are Updog Sports Talk. One day we just decided, you know what? We sit around and talk about sports all day instead of doing adult responsibilities. So we decided to start a podcast, and we actually got fed up with ESPN, Fox Sports, CBS Sports, insert mainstream media sports outlet here. We got fed up with their takes, and we decided to come up with our own. Hope you enjoy our takes today, and catch you on the flippity flip.
We do sports differently here.
We do. We have interesting opinions, but we back it up with facts. That being said, time for some facts. I guess I'll start with an opinion. Notre Dame is going to kick the shit out of Ohio State.
Really now?
No, I think it's going to be a good game. The injuries worry me. On Notre Dame's side, they're starting to pile up, but Riley Leonard's probably the best quarterback that we've had in quite some time. I think throwing the ball, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Riley Leonard is, how should I put this nicely, but whilst maintaining my fandom, he's limited in the pass game.
That was a good buzzword to use there.
Yeah. But his legs are absolutely electric. He'll keep Notre Dame in the game just by taking off. It also it helps that they have a three-headed monster in the backfield of Love, Price, and Williams. But yeah, I'm excited, dude. Like, I can't remember the last time, because you could tell before that 2012 Bama Notre Dame game that Notre Dame was just going to fall flat. You could just tell that going in. This team, there seems to be a little bit more to it. It's like they're fighting for something bigger.
there's just something about this Notre Dame team that just finds a way each time. With the perfect example was just this Penn State game. Like the beginning of the first half was not going their way at all. The offense had no rhythm whatsoever. When Penn State dedicated themselves to the ground game, there's nothing they could do to stop it. Penn State jumped up 10-0 with 2 minutes left in the first half, and it was like, man, this is looking pretty bad. And then, a few plays later, Riley Leonard's hurt, and it's like, oh, this is getting worse. This is spiraling out of control. Backup quarterback comes in, leads him down for a field goal, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, by the next time Penn State's touching the ball, it's a tie game.
Yeah.
That's the mettle of this Notre Dame team.
So a lot of people don't know who Steve Angeli is, and he played exceptionally well. Yeah. He played exceptionally well in the bowl game last year, but they still got Riley Leonard. I think regardless, Riley Leonard was the right decision to bring in, but the team is left in capable hands of Steve Angeli, because every defense is going to prepare for Riley Leonard. If something happens to Riley Leonard, the defense hasn't prepared for Steve Angeli. He's going to pick apart the defense. But Notre Dame's a second half team. Whatever Marcus Freeman says at halftime is 100% going to light a fire under these guys' asses. Marcus Freeman not only has his team rallying around him, he's starting to have the country rally around him.
Yeah, it's very funny to kind of see, the recent turn of what the country thinks of Notre Dame. For a long time, it was like, join a conference, you pretentious Catholics, and all that kind of stuff. But, the landscape of college football has changed significantly. And now, we're in a situation where these conferences are too big. I think at this point, most people are really tired already of how big these conferences are. And it's like, well, here's Notre Dame over here. They haven't sold out for money. Now, of course, if money happens to fall in their lap by accident, like it did in this college football playoff with the $20 million on their way that they all have to share, that's a nice little happy accident. But basically, the Irish program has stayed proud to their traditions, which is actually refreshing in this college football day and age.
So the only way that I see Notre Dame joining a conference is if the $20 million that they're getting for this playoff, or I think it can go up to like what, 27 million, I think is what I saw. If they
it might even be that much.
With the national championship, if they walk away with 27 million, let's just say they do that 3 years in a row, win or lose in the national championship, you're walking away with some money. So let's just say they walk away with 20 million a year for 3 straight years. That's 60 million put into their program just based on pay. That's not from boosters. That's not from anything else. I can see the NCAA a few years down the road going, hey, Notre Dame, this is an unfair advantage. Why don't you join a conference, or we will terminate your eligibility for the college football playoff? That's the only way I see them joining a conference.
I know that Greg Sankey is already wrestling around and trying to work the back channels to try to stop this, because he can't stand the thought of it not being his conference that's getting the most money.
Yeah. Well, it's at that point it wouldn't even be a conference. Like if not saying Alabama would have been on the other side had they made the playoff, but let's just say Alabama didn't lose 2 ridiculous games, and they were sitting across. Alabama would still only be walking away with like upwards of 2 million, between 1 and 2 million. So because they have to share it with the rest of the conference, I think it'll make some blue bloods start thinking, oh, maybe the conference way isn't the way. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I don't, not without diving too much into it, because we have to cover the Ohio State side of this national championship, but
no, we don't.
I'm wondering how long this super conference arrangement, how long term this truly is, because we saw this way back in the day. You know, the WAC attempted to do this and never really recovered from it. You know, I mean, they had some good years afterwards, but you know, they were the first to try a super conference, and eventually, you know, there's just too many even at that level, there's too many egos in the room, and it comes to a head eventually. That could be what we end up seeing at some point here as well.
Yeah, maybe SEC and Greg Sankey ruined college football.
Oh yeah, of course it did. I mean, we already know that. And they're trying to ruin it even more. Which, by the way, this is why you got to enjoy this game, because this is it. This is the last of college football before another offseason full of discourse led by Greg Sankey, where he's going to try to ruin the sport.
Speaking of ruining the sport, you want to go over Ohio State?
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, and this is the hard part because, you know, I feel like the media has been on Ohio State a lot this week. You know, I mean, we already know they had the most dynamic receivers in college football. They had the best receiver room and probably two of the best running backs in the sport. You know, Will Howard has performed really well in this playoff. What makes Ohio State most dangerous, and this is going to be one of the most interesting matchups, is that defensive line versus Notre Dame's offensive line continues to have to shuffle in new players because of injuries. You know, they have prided themselves in next man up, but this defensive line, especially future Detroit Lion Jack Sawyer, are really going to test the mettle of, you know, this once again remade Notre Dame offensive line. That's going to be really
interesting. My counter to that is I wouldn't say Jack Sawyer and what's the other guy's name? I can never say it.
JT Tuimoloau. Oh no, I probably butchered that, but you get the idea.
Yeah. I don't think those two are better than Abdul Carter by himself. Even an Abdul Carter that's injured was still like he's a top 10 pick. So
yeah,
I don't think Jack Sawyer is a top 10 pick, maybe at the end of the first round, but I still have him in the second round. But I think if they can contain Abdul Carter, all they have to do is make sure that the other side, like if they can contain Jack Sawyer, they just have to make sure the other side is not getting engaged.
Well, this is, I think, one of the other differences too, is because, you know, Jack Sawyer has been the guy that's been making the plays in the playoff, but it can really come from anywhere on this defensive line. You know, there's most of the guys up there are going to be either late first or early second round draft picks this year. So, you know, unlike, I mean, Penn State, you know, has a lot of good players around too, but, you know, Penn State they had one primary pass rusher and several other good ones. Ohio State has a lot of, you know, I wouldn't say great, but really good pass rushers. And that's going to be very interesting to watch. Now, the other thing is, you know, what's going to happen with the Ohio State offense, Chip Kelly and the play callers versus Al Golden and the Notre Dame defense. Because we saw, you know, Texas found the right formula of looks to give them to make Ohio State go run their offense sideline to sideline. Ohio State's offense is not effective when it does that. It is very, very bad when it does that. They did it against Michigan. They did it again for a lot of the second half against Texas. It's actually kind of funny to watch them because, you know, like they're usually decently successful, the plays that go this way, but for some reason, when they get a certain look, they insist on running their plays this way. So what is Al Golden going to come up with that's going to get them to go sideline to sideline? And, you know, is Ohio State going to fall for it or not? That's going to be a huge question. And Al Golden has succeeded in turning this game into a rock fight. You know, these two, you know, normally Ohio State and Notre Dame haven't played each other a lot, but this is now the third year in a row they played each other. These teams are actually pretty familiar with each other. And Al Golden has held Ohio State to 21 points and 17 points in the first two meetings. So he knows what to do, what schemes to run to really turn this into a rock fight. And the question is going to be, you know, is Ohio State going to be comfortable with that? The past two matches, Ohio State did finish the job in the fourth quarter, but this is a more confident Notre Dame team.
Notre Dame just
This
has
is
to make
close.
sure they have 11 players on the field.
Yes.
And then I think
this is close. I don't think Ohio State's going to pull this off in the fourth quarter like they have in the past two matchups.
I think that it's going to come down to who has better overall play. Not like a specific style, but who has better overall play, Riley Leonard or Will Howard. Because Will Howard can run, but he's not. He's like a Dak Prescott. Like he's going to look for the pass first and then like probably scamper for like 10 yards or so.
They don't run intended runs of him very often. We didn't.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Is like
yeah.
he's not a runner. He's a passer. But that being said, take away Smith and Njigba. He's a run of the mill quarterback. Like he's surrounded by talent.
Wait, did you just say Smith and Jigba?
No.
You just meant Jeremiah Smith.
Smith and
Ibuka.
Yeah, Ibuka. I don't know why I said Njigba. Yeah, so they I forgot what I was saying. Thanks a lot, Justin.
Yeah, no, I mean that was definitely a huge key to help Texas was, they bracketed around Jeremiah Smith and did not let him be a part of the offense.
Yeah.
And it did make things difficult. Ohio State they really did have to funnel a lot of the plays through Carnell Tate and the tight ends instead, which was very interesting to see.
Yeah, and Ohio State's defense has been strong. How are they against the run?
They are pretty good against the run.
How are they against four guys who can run?
Well, we haven't really seen them other than, Tennessee, but they got up on Tennessee so quickly that Tennessee couldn't really utilize their run game. This is probably the strongest run game they've gone against. But, I mean, this has been a pretty strong run defense. Really, the only time they've had a hard time stopping something was Oregon found a lot of success passing on them.
Yeah. I think the keys to either team is Notre Dame, don't come out flat. You got to stay in it the whole time. Ohio State, go up big early because second half is a different animal with Notre Dame. They find ways in the second half to at least pull back into, like, make it a game again, pretty much. And if they can make it a game again, they're going to find a way to get to you.
Yeah. That's a big key for Ohio State. They want to jump on them early and extinguish hope right away. And then the other thing for Ohio State is going to be, can they play a cleaner game? We know that Notre Dame's not going to hurt themselves with many penalties, but it's a possibility that Ohio State might. We saw against Texas, they had 3 consecutive drives where they killed themselves with a 10-plus yard penalty on second down. So, avoiding that is going to be a huge key for Ohio State. So ultimately, obviously I'm going to take the Ohio State side of the argument here. Talent ultimately wins out, and Ohio State manages to keep Notre Dame at arm's length with a double-digit win to cover the Vegas spread.
And I'm going to go with the opposite route. I think coaching wins this one. Marcus Freeman will outcoach anybody. Al Golden will outcoach any offense. Notre Dame's got it. I'm not worried.
You're not worried at all?
No, I'm just probably not going to invite you or chat over for a while.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. May the best team win. Hopefully the refs just stay out of this game. We don't really want to see them do anything on either side that we have to talk about for decades upon decades. This is going to be a fun game. I really love that, we got 2 Rust Belt teams going at it here.
Yeah, I forgot to put this up during our talk.
House divided.
So if Ohio State or if Notre Dame gets flagged for one more underthrown ball that ends up being a pass interference in the red zone, I am going to lose my shit. That's all I got to say about the reffing on that.
Oh my, that was such a bad call. Like, I mean, number 8 could have ran away. Like, could have just gone and hung out with the cheerleaders or something on that play, and that ball is still getting intercepted.
Yeah,
but anyways,
moving on to another type of football, professional football. This weekend started off the super wild card weekend.
I think they're actually taking the super out of it for some reason.
Okay, well, just regular ass wild card weekend.
I mean, probably part of it's going to be the results here. I guess we should just go in order of the games, how they happened. Houston Texans beat the Chargers 32-12.
Nothing to really write home on that.
Yeah, there really is.
That game was really boring.
Chargers kind of started out strong early, and then it really fell apart for them. Like it went bad pretty quickly.
Yeah. Next was,
and the worst part is, like, there really isn't a whole lot to say because, like, Houston looked pretty decent, but now they have to go play the Chiefs in the Arrowhead, and we know for a fact they aren't winning that game.
Yeah. Next in the day was Bills Broncos. That was kind of a blowout.
Wait, no. We have to be on Saturday, so that was Ravens Steelers.
No, Ravens Steelers was the night game, wasn't it?
Yeah, Saturday night game.
Yeah, wasn't there 3 games? Oh no, I guess there was 2.
No, there's
yeah, Ravens Steelers. Ravens handled this one. Like, the score is closer than what the game actually showed. 28-14. Yeah. I think the Ravens are a very scary team in the playoffs. They just have to play defense. That's all they have to do. Their offense is going to be, it's going to click no matter what.
And when we evaluated Super Bowl contenders a few weeks back, we flagged the Ravens defense as a weakness, and in all reality, like, they have actually really stepped up in the last several weeks.
Yeah, it's like they watched our show or something.
So that makes this team even scarier because now they're actually playing pretty decent defense. And I mean, this offense just, how do you stop it? They have Lamar to run the ball. They have Derrick Henry, a monster, especially this time of year, to run the ball. And, like, they at least have enough receivers to get it done in the passing game.
But today, this is the only thing I'll say that's non-playoff related. Today, Deontay Johnson was signed, not eligible for the playoffs, but once he becomes a free agent, they get a compensatory pick. That was a very smart move.
I know, that was wild. I was like, are you serious? Some of these teams really know how to, like, flip the system and get as many compensatory. Wow, we were both struggling with that word.
Compensatory
picks that they could get. Like, but yeah, this Ravens team is looking very good.
So we thought that Ozzie Newsome was a good GM. What's his name? DaCosta. Yeah, Eric DaCosta. He's a brilliant mind. That was a fantastic hire. Like, I think in terms of GMs, I don't think there are many better candidates that could have been accepted for that position.
Right.
Moving on to the Sunday slate of games. It was Bills Broncos was the early game.
Yeah,
right?
now
it's Bills and Broncos. Bills ran away with this one pretty easily. Broncos just fell out flat and then had a couple of wacky plays, both offensively and defensively, with the Ty Johnson touchdown. Like, that's like a random style catch. Like, that's not going to happen every time. There was a couple penalties. That, like, we're like, okay, really, you're going to throw that flag? And then all of a sudden, it just turned things around, and the Bills were just up by 3 scores. So I don't think there was much to play for at that point. Josh Allen had that offense clicking, and it wasn't easy to catch up.
Yeah, it was this game. So there's, like, a few things here. Like, the Broncos opening drive looked, they had like 3rd and 8, they converted, and then, hit a bomb down the field for a touchdown. Like, oh no, here we go again. Here's the Bills playoff defense where for some reason they can't come up with stops, and then, they didn't give up a point the rest of the game. So that was encouraging. But, obviously, as we mentioned before with the Ravens, that will be tested a lot harder. But, that was the Bills game against the Broncos was their best defensive performance in the playoffs since the last time they played the Ravens in the playoffs. So, and that was back in 2020, by the way. So it's been a pretty rough run. For the Bills, the offense looked great. They marched down the field in a really good defense. But the big thing is just cutting back on the penalties. There were a lot of penalties and red zone issues that did not come back to bite them in this game because they were in such control. But against the Ravens are going to bite them in the ass. So they need to definitely clean that up for this game, because this is a whole different animal that's coming into Buffalo on, I think the game's on Sunday. Yeah, on Sunday.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's going to be probably my favorite game to watch. The Chiefs Texans game, honestly, unless the Chiefs are just rusty, I don't see it being a game.
Yeah, it probably won't be.
Moving on to later that day, the Eagles Packers.
Which, by the way, we so like they did all the AFC games first, so now we finally move into the NFC.
Yeah. Eagles Packers was a good game early on, and then the Packers just lost all their receivers to injury.
Yeah. It was pretty brutal. I felt bad that Jordan Love kept getting a bunch of hate for it, because I mean, he did throw a bunch of interceptions. There was some rough throws, but also at the same time, it was like, you're playing a good defense and all of your receivers are gone. Like, what else did you expect him to do here?
Yeah. Well, Packers fans have gotten to see Brett Favre, who did throw a lot of interceptions, but he threw more touchdowns than interceptions. And then Aaron Rodgers hardly ever turned the ball over for so long that they forgot about Brett Favre's interceptions, so they weren't used to turnovers. And then Jordan Love does it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is how that feels." Packers fans, don't hang your head. It was a good season. Love seemed to be injured most of the year, and then I don't know, like his downfall the last few weeks of the season. He may have re-aggravated his original injury.
It really did feel like he wasn't completely healthy.
He also kept holding his elbow.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? After like every play, he would like put his hand like by his elbow.
Yeah, it was so tough. Like, their defense actually stepped it up this year. This is the best their defense been in some time, but it was just the offensive side of the ball this year. They just couldn't stay healthy ever.
Yeah.
And obviously, the other thing they couldn't do was, they spotted the Eagles 7 points right off the bat with a fumble. You can't do that either in playoff football.
No. Moving on for time constraints, Bucks and Commanders. I thought that was a very good game. That was
this is probably the best game of wild card, of Super Wild Card Weekend, or Wild Card Weekend.
I don't know if they dropped the Super already. It just says Wild Card Weekend, and years past, I think.
Okay, so they probably did. They probably did drop it, especially after seeing how the first few games went.
Yeah. So the Commanders were a little bit of a surprise. I actually thought it was going to be a close game, like it was, but I thought the Bucks were going to be able to pull it out. But once I saw how things were going, I'm kind of a Commanders fan now. Not like raging fan, just like okay, I'm on board. You have my attention. 20 years, and they finally get a playoff win.
Yeah,
I feel bad for Baker Mayfield though, because like that loss puts him back into B tier, C+ tier quarterback. Whereas I think he's a really good quarterback. He's led the league in touchdowns in the last 2 seasons by far.
Yeah.
The
offense looked pretty good for most of the year. It's just, in this game, like their offensive line just, made too many critical mistakes. The bad snap that got fumbled. They had a few untimely penalties. Just different stuff like that comes to bite you in this kind of setting.
Yeah. So Bucks, who were a kind of a favorite to go to the conference championship, in my opinion. I mean, like they seemed like they had the momentum and
Yeah,
everything kind of
they had
going
a shot. I mean, they beat the Lions earlier this year.
Yeah. So they had the formula. I think they probably would have had to face the Eagles. But instead of them facing the Eagles, the Rams are facing the Eagles because they blew out the Vikings, and the Vikings offensive line looked like the Bengals offensive line in 2020. Feel bad for Sam Darnold too, because like he had an amazing year, and now everyone's like, "All right, get out of town. We don't want you anymore."
Yeah, it was a very rough finish for him and the Vikings offense. Like, it's crazy how that can happen. Like,
You know what else is
Vikings
crazy?
are having what?
Jared Verse. That dude's
Yeah.
a beast.
Yeah, he is unreal. I mean, what a draft pick by the Rams. And we praised them for the pick when it happened. That was in this year's draft. He's a rookie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did our live draft.
It's been a long year, but yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to see if I could keep track of the years. But yeah, when we did our draft show, we praised that pick heavily, and it lived up to it. I mean, this was a steal by the Rams, and it has changed the entire defense. Like, their defense had to kind of settle in early in the year, but now they're playing at a high level.
Yeah. They actually look scary, and it's led by their defense. Normally, when we say Rams, we're like, okay, potent offense, stout defense, let's go. Now it's strong defense, even if talent isn't necessarily there, strong defense, and let's put the offense in range to start making some plays.
Yeah, and the offense is doing pretty solid too. Like, Puka Nacua has been absolutely incredible. I'm assuming that Puka Nacua and Matt Stafford are having the 5-hour breakfast.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Cooper Kupp's invited to this point anymore. I'm not sure what's going on, but he's been really good. Kyron Williams is helping the run game churn along. These young guys that they grabbed late in the draft are really helping this offense along right now.
Yeah. And when we said the offensive line was a weakness, they addressed it with a couple of players. They addressed it with a couple of picks. Now, probably a little later than we probably would have picked. But I guess that's why we're not GMs, because they nailed on their picks. They got it right. I don't know what else to say. The Rams are.
This is how you build yourself into a Super Bowl contender. It's like, you nail your draft picks and even find some guys who could be impact players in later rounds. And the Rams have done a fantastic job of that.
Yeah. So the matchups are Chiefs, Texans, Bills, Ravens, Lions, Commanders, and Eagles, Rams. Probably most excited for Bills, Ravens, and Eagles, Rams.
Yeah.
I think the Commanders and Texans will come out, but I don't know how close the games will be.
I think the Commanders can keep it close. That one, I think, has some fun potential to it.
You think they cover the 9.5?
Yeah, I think they could cover that. The one that excites me the least is definitely the Chiefs and Texans. That one's the only one that I could stare at you straight in the face and go, I know for a fact the Chiefs are going to win that game.
Yeah.
That one without a doubt, I can say. The rest of these are toss-ups in my mind. I could see them going either way.
Yeah, but I would put more money on the Lions beating the Commanders than either of the other two games selecting a team.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the case, but I mean, like, the gap of toss-up versus not toss-up is very big between the Chiefs and Texans and Lions Commanders compared to like Lions Commanders versus like, Eagles and Rams.
Yeah. The Eagles and Rams and Bills and Ravens are going to be tight.
Yeah.
Do you want to overreact and see if your brain changes anything on who you think is going to go to the Super Bowl?
No, I still have Chiefs and Eagles going. Right now I still feel comfortable in that, I currently have, some money lying around on futures with the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the who else was it? The Ravens. I have it on those three, and I feel very comfortable in that position.
Yeah. I still have Ravens Eagles.
All birds.
Yep. So yeah. I think that's enough NFL talk for now. College football playoff reactions, Justin. We can go from one playoff to the other.
I think there was a lot of overreactions to this in general. To the format and everything. The opening round, we saw a lot of blowouts, but breaking news, going on the road against a top 10 team is difficult. So I think that got underestimated when everyone talked about the playoff. But the early rounds, we're going to see some blowouts here and there, but in the end, there's still going to be some excellent games, and Arizona State versus Texas definitely produced that.
Yeah,
that was one of the best games of the entire playoff, and one of the best games in any sort of playoff era. That game was absolutely incredible. Cam Scadaboo was unreal. We've been talking about him all year long, but it was great to see him on the big stage play how well he did.
Yeah. Whereas on the flip side, Genty played pretty well, but he didn't play Genty-esque.
I mean, it was
it
hard.
Seems like the game plan worked against Boise.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the thing with Boise State was like, you have to play a perfect game. The opportunities were there. They missed a field goal on their opening drive. They had a touchdown taken off the board by a penalty. They had multiple other drives stall because of penalties. They got into Penn State territory and had penalties taken back. Boise State actually outgained Penn State in that game. But the score didn't reflect that because Boise State made the more mistakes and Penn State played a cleaner ball game.
Yeah.
Genty, though, I mean, he was still unreal. He just had no room to run. But he gained 100 yards in that game when no other running back would probably hit 60.
Yeah, I would agree. My initial reaction of the entire playoff, the entire expanded playoff, is I like it. First round, there's a significant difference in the home teams versus the away teams. You're putting lower seeds against teams that probably could be in the next, like, getting the bye had it not been like for one thing. So I like first round, that didn't piss me off at all. I was like, okay, I mean, that's just what we're gonna get.
Yeah, and
second round was super entertaining.
Going back to the first round, let's hit the brakes for a moment and just also think about the fact that this first round, it brought us some matchups we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Notre Dame and Indiana are in the same state, and we finally saw them play for the first time since 1991, and only the second time since 1958, and they're in the same state. That was pretty cool that we got to see those two play. Ohio State and Tennessee, only Kentucky separates them. Second matchup of all time, first since 1996, I believe. Penn State and SMU haven't played this since the 70s. And actually it was a rematch of, I think it was a Cotton Bowl in the 1940s that was considered the first interracial matchup of all time. And, the final game, which was, why am I drawing a blank of who it was? Notre Dame. No, Notre Dame.
We already
covered them.
Ohio State and Tennessee, we did them.
Yeah.
Penn State and SMU.
Oh, Texas and Clemson play for the first time ever.
Yeah, but nobody really watched that game because it was like, okay.
Yeah, that one was technically, I guess, the closest game of the first round, but
it didn't seem as close as the score said.
yeah.
I would also say the second round was fantastic. The quarterfinal. The semifinal was fantastic. And now we have two of the biggest programs, two of the most historic programs facing off against each other. I would say that's a successful playoff for everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
Not just because our teams are
feel
involved, but I feel like any of the semifinal teams, if it was Texas Notre Dame, then you would have a rematch of the 05 game. Then who else? Penn State and Ohio State. That probably would have been a dud. Just
Penn
because
State
like
and Texas ever played each other.
I don't know. But while you're pulling that over my picks for the playoff, I think in order to not have the teams that are on bye come out flat like they did, I think pushing the conference championship games back 1 week would fix that. You give them the bye. They have a week. They have a bye the week before the playoff. They get the bye of the playoff, so it's just 2 weeks instead of 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
They were like off for a month at that point. So it was like if you push it back a week and maybe flip the conference championship and move the Army Navy game up 1 week.
Yeah.
So they still get their own
that
week.
At least is not as, blatantly off as like, proposing putting, Army Navy at week 0. I do not like that.
No. The Army Navy has to go at the end of the season. And I feel like if you just switch the weeks, it solves the problem because mostly nobody else is playing that week. Now you have some FCS games and stuff like that, but during conference,
and that's always been the case. We're not changing anything there.
But with
and also we're actually resolving another problem, which was they were playing that game after the conference championship. Now they're playing it before.
Yeah. So that puts them back in line, so it's not awkward. And then you move everything closer 1 week. So these teams don't have all this time off that get the bye in the first round. Or maybe you just add 4 more teams and there's no bye.
Yeah, maybe.
That solves
I don't know. It kind of depends, like, what
that gives Greg Sankey like a little bit more power to be able to throw 3 more of his teams in there.
Well, I don't know. The only way I can agree to 4 more teams is I want to see the other 4 conferences get a bid. Yeah. I would rather see someone new get their shot, maybe to get blown out. Okay, that happens. Then
UNLV next year.
Then see,
right now.
I mean, everyone's got UNLV and they're way too early top 25 already. Then, see someone, because the teams that got left out this year were extremely mediocre. We had an Alabama team that lost to multiple teams that lost 6 games, including a 3-touchdown loss to Oklahoma. That was really tough to stomach, the idea of a team with that bad of a loss making it.
I don't know if it's
lost
the
at home to
voices.
Kentucky.
I don't know if it was the voices coming out from the public or what, but it just seems like on that particular decision, the college football playoff actually did a good job of listening to the public.
Yeah, and it was actually a refreshing surprise because, like, I feel like everyone was kind of skeptical about how the committee would come out with their teams and stuff, and in all reality, like, I mean, maybe things fell in a good place for them, but they ended up making the right decisions.
Yeah.
I didn't really come out with a whole lot of issues with what came out. I mean, maybe I would rank some teams in an order a little bit differently, but the matchups we got as a result of them were a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, that can lead us into bowl season.
Yeah, let's talk about bowl season in general.
Yeah, so like the playoff was a success. I think the fact that these bowl games are adding just sheer entertainment factor to the bowl games again. Like the Pop-Tart Bowl, like they're adding some great things to that. The Duke Mayo Bowl,
Yeah.
like that's a classic now.
The game was absurd, like trying all the disgusting mayo concoctions and all of that, and then PJ Fleck getting the mayo bath. Like PJ Fleck was the perfect human being to get that.
I agree. And the fact that like PJ Fleck just luck. I don't know if it's luck or what, but he just seems to find a way to get into a bowl game and win.
Yeah, no, he always manages to win the bowl game. We covered that in our bowl preview, how good he's been in these games, and he still is.
This wasn't planned, but did you by happenstance count how many wins and losses we had on the predictions?
No, I did not. I probably should check on that.
Not a big deal, but I think
I know in the Always Talking Ball bowl mania, we were, last time I checked, we were right there in contention. We were like number 5 on the list, so we were in contention for that one. College Football Talk Daily was a spread one, and we did absolutely terrible in that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. We saw a lot of classics too. Like there was a huge stretch right around Christmas where like all the games were very close. And then we had some absolutely wild overtime games. Christmas Eve, everyone's with the family. There's only one thing to put on, and that's the Hawaii Bowl. I feel like one challenge was, the Hawaii Bowl suffered a lot during COVID. And, I think the Hawaii Bowl didn't get to happen for like 2 years because, COVID didn't let anyone go to the islands in 2020, 2021. It got canceled because I think it actually got canceled because Todd Graham was a horrible human being and everyone left the team. So like, they didn't get to have the bowl back-to-back years. And, that's a long time. And I think it got removed off a lot of people's televisions because of that.
Yeah.
But, finally, like the bowl's been going on again. More people are watching. And then this year, while everyone's with the family watching this game, it produced an instant classic 5 overtime battle. So that was one of the coolest moments. And then that Toledo Pitt game was absolutely wild. Like Toledo thought they won the game like 3 times before they actually won it.
Yeah, we talked about this before the show, so please don't try to stop me. I have it on good authority that, and this is just a rumor here because I haven't had it. We like to confirm things from 2 different sources. So I have it on good authority though that they are trying to have a bowl game in Cincinnati.
The Cincinnati Chili Bowl rumors are back.
They're swirling, man. So part of the
Bring it back.
Part of the rumor is that it might be called the Skyline Chili Bowl. I think they would have to put a sponsor on it. I don't know if they would be able to grab multiple sponsors for that. But if they could,
like the Cincinnati Chili Bowl presented by Skyline or the Skyline Cincinnati Chili Bowl.
I don't think they're putting Cincinnati in it. I think it's just going to be Cincinnati. Okay. Or you screwed me up.
It's catchy.
It is catchy. They should not have presented that to us because we will never stop until this becomes a thing. But allegedly, NCAA is looking for bowl expansion in the next handful of years, adding bowl games and whatnot. So allegedly, Cincinnati is going to try to get a bowl game down here.
We are very excited about it because if they get it here, we are going to be there every single year.
We are going to get yearly tickets. I will cancel every vacation. I will quit my job. No, I won't quit my job, but I'll call off work to go to this game, and I think it would be electric.
Absolutely. And this show will continue to push for that Cincinnati Chili Bowl because, the bowl experience is a special one. I got to experience it this year at the Valero Alamo Bowl. Thanks to a friend of the show. I had tickets to the game, and it was a cool experience. I feel like there's a good energy about like the fan bases, like everyone's just excited. This is an extra game. It's also fun talking about like traveling adventures. Like I talked to some BYU fans about theirs, because everyone's like, yeah, because they announced these games so soon, and then the flights just suddenly spike as soon as they see purchases coming in. So like, talking about everyone's driving adventures and stuff, like people having to drive from like Utah to San Antonio and stuff. And, I drove from San Antonio to Ohio. It's a very fun experience. I have nothing but good things to say about the BYU fan base. They're a good group of people from what I got to encounter. The game did not go well for Colorado. They definitely got run off the field pretty quickly from the start. And this is one of those things that you can only catch when you catch a live game, because I felt like, throughout the year, like BYU got punished as like a team that did not pop out at you when you watch them on TV. They didn't seem to carry anything spectacular, but man, watching them in person, seeing that defense, they popped out at me. I was like, maybe we need to talk about this team in the playoff more, because that defense is massive for one. They have some, on the defensive line, they definitely have some bigger
meteor men.
But they also fly
bigger
around.
Meteor men.
Like, I don't know if it's show up in 40 times, but man, that defense flies around. It is incredible to watch those guys work. And that's something that really did not pop out to people. Didn't make them think that they could, they thought, oh, maybe when they encounter a faster team, they'll just get run off. No. Colorado had a lot of speed everywhere, and they had no issue with it. They played fast, and they were incredible. And yeah, it was still a very cool experience. Obviously a tough ending for Colorado in the end, but that's just how the cookie crumbles.
You know what? They should get a map of the United States and maybe put like another map of the Bahamas and put like tax everywhere that there's a bowl game. And then they need to find out where the big pockets are. Like that, like other than a huge, massive game in Indianapolis, I don't think there's a bowl game in this area of the Midwest.
They have the the bowl game up in Detroit, which is
but
now called Game Above Bowl, but that's it.
Yeah, but it's still way up there. I would say Columbus down to what, Knoxville, and over to St. Louis. There's
down to Memphis. Memphis is the Liberty Bowl.
Yeah, but Knoxville, Nashville, like that's almost a straight line.
Yeah.
Which
definitely, I do know that Nashville has a bowl game for sure. Because at one point I thought maybe I could try to hit the Music City Bowl on the way home, but I wasn't nearly making good enough time. Unfortunately, when I was going through Nashville, I realized, oh no, the Music City Bowl is about to end. And then I'm like, come on, Iowa, convert this fourth down and extend this game. And then they didn't. I'm like, oh no, I can't eat dinner here. I gotta get out of town before the traffic.
You were just rooting for traffic to delay.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, I gotta hurry up and get out of here before all these Iowa and Missouri fans get out.
But if they had a bowl game here in Cincinnati, like we had predicted and followed up on that hunch from a couple years ago when they were like, hey, we're going to try to do Cincinnati Chili Bowl. I think if they put one in Cincinnati and then even one in Louisville would be fun. I would say the Bourbon Bowl, but that's already kind of a thing.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool if they did that.
Like the Maker's Mark Bowl or something.
Yeah, and like the interesting thing is, like, Louisville Stadium has those like actual seats that creates, because that's how they want to do the bowl games. Instead of like college stadiums that are like bleachers and stuff, stadiums that have the more comfortable seating. We want to influence fans to come here with, they're going to have a spot to sit. That's what Louisville has. They have pretty comfortable seats.
Yeah.
So
and
I
do
think that
understand. I do understand. Late December it does get cold in the Midwest. Trust us, we know that. But there's games in Boston and New York.
Right, that's even colder.
Yeah.
Oh my. The good news is too, if the Cincinnati Chili Bowl did come to Cincinnati, the soccer stadium, most of the seats are covered up while the field is not. So while the players will be playing in the elements, you will not be sitting in the elements unless you're like very close to the field.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a huge positive to that stadium, where I guess that's one negative for Louisville Stadium is that the fans would be out in the elements as well.
And I feel like if they put a bowl game there, like everyone complains there's not enough to do in Cincinnati for the people who don't know Cincinnati. And I feel like adding that, I feel like at least the first couple of years of this bowl game, it would be packed.
Yeah, I mean,
unless
you're
multiple
adding something
things are
that's
going on downtown, like that game would be packed.
Yeah, you're adding something that creates an additional buzz in the city. And, like we definitely do have a lack of sporting events outside of Cincinnati teams. It's like when the Bengals and the Bearcats finish their season, it's like, okay, well, that's it. There's not much else going on. We hardly have ever hosted any sort of neutral event ever.
Yeah.
So it'd be fun to get to see that.
It would be so cool to have like, I don't know, like a Central Michigan versus Charlotte.
Yeah. Yes.
I feel like if Cincinnati goes like 5-7 or 6-6 and that bowl game is out there, I feel like it's only fitting to just start the first one with a hometown team to gain interest in the bowl game, maybe.
Yeah, like matchup. I mean, give us like a rare matchup of like Cincinnati versus a MAC team. Like they don't get to play Ohio very often. They wouldn't do it next year because Cincinnati plays BG in the regular season,
or even like a 6-6, even like a 6-6 ACC team.
Yeah,
I feel like that would be a good matchup. Like records don't show it, but I feel like that would be a good matchup. And like we don't want. I mean, it would be cool to see it like in the playoff, but I think what we're just expecting is just them to put the Cincinnati Chili Bowl or Skyline Bowl at the bottom of the totem pole. Be one of the lesser games. But if Skyline jumps in with the rights to the game, I feel like that could get decent sponsorship, or TV rights.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of outsiders to the city are very intrigued by Skyline Chili and what it is.
And
so
everybody has a strong opinion on Cincinnati Chili.
It does. They do. So them sponsoring a bowl game would be so entertaining.
Yeah. And then like at Washington Park, like 2 blocks away, you could have like a whole festival, like a whole Skyline Bowl festival or Cincinnati Chili festival where all the Cincinnati Chili places come to one spot.
Yep. I mean, at least most of them, probably don't need to invite Gold Star.
No, for this event, I want Gold Star there. I don't care for Gold Star normally, but if it's a Cincinnati Chili thing, I want Cincinnati Chili Coney mascots of each place. Make them a different color or whatever, and they do the sausage race like in Milwaukee. And then maybe they fight each other. I mean, that would be fantastic.
Hey, whatever we need to do.
I do feel like that would be a very, like if they did it the right way, that would be a very entertaining bowl game with a ton of cities around, like in the Midwest. Really, any of the cities could be a good host to a bowl game like that. Because like in Cincinnati, within a 2-hour drive, we have Columbus, Indianapolis, Lexington, and Louisville, with all the farmland and suburbs and everything in between. And you have Dayton. And then expanding out a few more hours, you have Knoxville, Nashville, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Cleveland, Toledo, Chicago. Like you're starting to hit some major cities within a 5-hour drive, and I feel like a 5-hour drive isn't that bad to go to a bowl game.
Yeah,
it's like an overnight stay.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I did 18 hours for a bowl game. You can
Yeah.
do that.
I think that's enough for the show. I think we wrapped that up pretty nicely. Texas food?
Yeah. So when you're in Texas, you gotta get some brisket.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had brisket a lot of times.
It
one of
shows.
the most one of the most surprising things was like I actually because like I was kind of getting in a rush when I wanted to get at least to the end of Texas. On that first day. So like I ended up stopping at like a place. Oh no. Did I forget the name? Hang on.
Texarkana?
No, I mean I did get to Texarkana in the drive, but did not get out Texas that day because I ended up on the Texas side of Texarkana.
Was it the place that we went to for the UC Alabama game?
So I went to the barbecue place that's inside of their grocery stores, HEB.
Nice.
True Texas Barbecue. And I'll tell you what, I mean, obviously when it's there, like you're not going to get, this is very solid. You're supposed to be, but I'll tell you what, I enjoyed it. It was pretty good. I had a really good brisket from there, from True Texas Barbecue. And then I stopped in the grocery store as well, HEB, to see what they had. And yeah, I ended up with some pretty decent snacks for the way home. Most notably, so their chips, they had these lemon pepper chips, limited time only. They are extremely good. And like an idiot, like I only brought like one home, and surprise, my wife ended up liking them too. So then it's like, oh wait, now I'm an idiot because I only brought one home. Like
that was a very selfish
18...
thing.
No, I mean like it's like because it's like oh yeah, because like I could get to an HEB so quickly from Ohio.
Yeah, I mean you can buy it online.
Only
it
brought
takes
one.
like 3 days to get here.
That is what ended up happening, by the way. We have more lemon pepper chips. We're going to be having them for a while.
So yeah, when we were down there for the UC Alabama game, other than when I had COVID and the flu, it was a pretty good experience. And we went to Terry Black's Barbecue, and I absolutely loved it.
It was incredible.
Yeah, it was the whole process you could see from behind glass. They had like garages of this building like opened up. You could see 30 or 40 smokers going at once.
Yeah. I mean, it was
straight out of Texas. Like if you think of Texas, that is what it was. If you go further south, I would say you get out of barbecue country and you start hitting Tex-Mex country.
Yeah. Yeah, if I was in San Antonio longer, I was definitely going to get some Tex-Mex because that would have been really good. San Antonio is probably when you hit that point where it's like, all right, let's get some good Tex-Mex here.
If UTRGV ends up like being really good, or like if Rio Grande decides that they want to host a bowl game, I think that would be one that we would have to think about.
Yeah. I'll tell you what though, it is down there because like I was curious like just how far they were from where I was.
Was it like another 8 hours?
let me plug it in here real quick.
It takes like an entire day to go through the entire state.
Yes,
Like people don't realize how big
Yes.
Texas is.
it was 4 hours away.
Oh, okay, that's not
from
terrible.
San Antonio. That's not the worst, but
But then that would
Um,
have been a entire day drive back to Cincinnati.
you know what a lot of people probably don't know, like outside of Texas, is like all of that area, like San Antonio to like Austin up to like Waco and then Dallas, like it all kind of combines together a little bit.
Yeah.
Like there are, like there are like smaller cities within it continuously throughout. Like, I mean, only like a small window between like Austin and Waco and then Waco and Dallas, like, is not some sort of city, but it is obviously this is like along I-35. Like, this is probably, this is the most populated part of Texas, outside of Houston. So obviously it was a very, very main part, but yeah, it was a pretty cool trip.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. Got to see some old friends, so that probably helped too.
Yeah, absolutely. And met some new ones.
Yeah. I didn't go to any bowl games this year. I stuck around the house. But back to barbecue and Texas food. Do you have any ribs or just stuck to brisket?
I stuck to brisket.
Okay. I feel like that's the safe Texan bet.
By the way, I thought about getting ribs in Tennessee, but then, because I was between ribs and Nashville hot chicken. I was going to get Nashville hot chicken, and then I found out that bowl game was at the end, realized I needed to get out of town.
And then you stopped at the gas station I got sick at in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
No, I did not.
I feel like
I
that's the
didn't.
last gas station for quite a while. If you like a good truck stop gas station.
It was, yeah. Well, no. North of Bowling Green, Kentucky now is another Buc-ee's.
Oh, nice. Did you stop at that one?
No, I did not. I did not realize it was there. Otherwise I probably would have. But it was very funny. Like, I ended up passing like at least like 5 or 6 Buc-ee's during this drive. But there was like a funny point, like at one time where like I passed one, and then like a little bit later, like at some point in Arkansas, there was like a sign that was like, it was like they started getting very sarcastic with it. They were like, "You can hold it, 569 miles away." And like there was something like, "Oh, you're almost there, 530 miles away." The thing is, though, like what didn't make sense to me is that like I was on I-30. I-30 ends in Little Rock.
Yeah.
Where was this Buc-ee's? I have no clue where it is.
It probably wanted you to cut south.
I guess so. I don't know. Like, it was weird. Like, they just had the signs, but I'll never know where that mysterious Buc-ee's is. It was 500 something miles away.
Yeah, I think that's the show. We'll end on a high note with Buc-ee's.
Oh, of course. Always.
And then maybe next show, or maybe not next show, but maybe later this year, you can start telling us how wonderful Wawa is.
Yeah. We'll get to do that later this year.
That's the show. We'll catch you guys next time.
Catch you in the flip.